I might like this wide receiver class a lot more than others. This class is stacked. There are so many possible outcomes for this class. With a class that's day 2 heavy, to the amount of different skill sets, these guys make me that much more excited for the draft. So let's get right into it. Who is the best wide receiver in the 2025 NFL Draft? Let's find out. Before we dive into this video, I do have to say something about the honorable mentions. First off, Stanford's Alec Iomanner and UNLV's Ricky White are 12th and 13th respectively, but we have a tie for 10th place. The tiebreaker is decided by their pure score in my rankings, so none of those bonus points are going to count here. So, with more bonus points, Texas wide receiver Isaiah Bond comes in at number 11, or 10B if you will. So who is Bond tied with? That would be Iowa State wide receiver Jalen Knoll. Knoll is a guy who I've seen some people put second round grades on and other people put 5th round grades on. For me, I think Knoll is a mid-3rd round player because he is an extremely slippery receiver as both a route runner and an open field threat. His explosiveness combines with that agility to make it very hard to guard his short routes. On medium and deep routes, his spatial awareness shows out best. He also has elite ball concentration in the contested and deep game, and he has a clean injury history with over 2,400 snaps. Negatively, there isn't much to discuss, but his play strength is really not good. He will get held up on routes, and he only has contested catch upside because of his ball concentration. Knoll was also primarily a slot receiver, where he displayed a small route tree and a possible scheme-specific skill set. Finally, he is a mediocre run blocker. Knoll is a slot receiver who I can get behind, but I really only see him being that slot threat at the next level. He gets a mid-3rd round grade here, as I mentioned before, and he could be a starting slot receiver very early on in his career. Let's stay in the same state for number 9. Actually, let's stay at the same school and talk about Iowa State receiver Jaden Higgins. Higgins was a perfect complement to Knoll at Iowa State, but he does have some translation concerns without Knoll, because Higgins does have a bad athletic profile for the league. He may run a 40 closer to the 4.55 range at the combine, and his explosiveness isn't really there either. His agility is average, which is a positive thing, but the rest of the traits take away from his open field potential. On top of that, he is limited as a deep option, his play strength is slightly underwhelming given his frame, and his release package is nothing special. But there is also so much to love, especially when discussing catch point. Higgins had a career drop rate of 3%, and even that's skewed by his 9.4% drop rate his freshman year. He also has fantastic body control and an intimidating frame at 6'4", 217, which both add to his catch radius, and he just made so many contested catches in college anyway. In terms of route running, Higgins is a crisp route runner in the medium game with solid spatial awareness as well. There's much more to his route running than just that, but that's what will translate best and help him become a good NFL receiver. We take the next step in grading here as Higgins gets an early 3rd round grade on my board. As we move on to Trey Harris out of Ole Miss at number 8 here, I could see why some people believe he's a top 5 receiver in this class. And with how deep this class is on day 2, I could see that as well, but I still do have my concerns here. Those reasons start with his inconsistencies as a route runner. He's not consistent at creating separation out of man coverage, and it's not a great sign when short route running is a receiver's best trait there. His route tree is also small, but that could just be scheme limitations. He also has a concerning medical history with his time at Ole Miss. His deep speed is not great, and he's not a massive threat in the open field. But he does come out as an elite contested catch threat. He has super impressive measurables at 6'3", 210, he runs routes through traffic well, and he has some good play strength. He also has some great spatial awareness going deep with a strong release package out of press coverage. What separates him from a similar receiver like Higgins is that he is much better athletically with good agility and explosiveness. Teams will 100% take a chance on a guy like Harris because he's a contested catch threat with some athleticism as well. He pans out as an early third round grade in my books, and he reminds me of Alec Pierce. We are already at the second guy on this list who is outside of the consensus top 10. Miami receiver Xavier Restrepo is that number 7 receiver here. He's a smaller receiver, that's for sure, but he has the potential to become the best slot wide receiver to come out of this class. I mean it. There are several reasons as to why I like Restrepo at this spot, including how he excels in medium and deep route running. He is super explosive off the line, shows very good spatial awareness, and he is that high-impact deep game receiver from the slot. But what I like most about him is how he is an elite catch point guy, especially for a slot receiver, with phenomenal hands, ball concentration, and crazy good body control. On the flip side, he is a pure slot guy due to his frame and his 92% clip of career snaps in the slot. He does have underwhelming deep speed, he will be knocked off his routes, and his run blocking technique needs some tooling. He is compared a lot to Tank Dell for this reason. But for me, I see more of Khalil Shakir in his game due to his deep impact and his hands. Restrepo gets a late second round pick for this video, and he kicks off a lengthy list of receivers that did receive second round grades for me in this class. Moving on to number 6. Isaiah Bond might have missed out, but his teammate Matthew Golden did not. Golden is a massive stock riser in the draft this year, and it makes sense when you take a look at what he did for the Longhorns. He elevated this team with his phenomenal athletic profile that is just shy of perfect. He is extremely explosive off the line of scrimmage, has blazing deep speed to get open vertically, and at its best, his agility is phenomenal. He has also made some crazy contested catches with his super advanced route tree, which brings him nice versatility. His routes down the middle are elite, and there's more to his game that just made him a high impact. But what holds him back a little bit is his very bad play strength. He will get held up on his routes constantly, and he may have contested catch inconsistencies in the NFL due to that play strength. He also has had a few bad concentration drops, and his smaller arm length brings catch radius concerns. I'm not too concerned with much of this, it's just the play strength that is really bad. But there's more to the game than just strength. If you give Golden space, he's going to make it worth it. He gets a late second round grade for me this draft season, which is honestly impressive when you take a look at where his stock was before the year. Bold take incoming here as we do get into number 5, but I am still high on Luther Burden nonetheless. I have him ranked out as a mid-second round grade, which will likely come around to the 30 range on my big board, which is still good, but not as high as the 15 range where he's at right now. So why am I not high on him? Well, his 2024 season was a lot less promising than his 2023 year. He showed some struggles against man coverage, and although he has the athleticism, he just couldn't separate at some times. He also has a couple concentration issues, whether that be some concentration drops or concentration going deep. His route tree and creativity need work, and he'll likely strictly be a slot at the next level. But while in the slot, he is super explosive with the deep speed to get open downfield. When he gets the ball, which he can do while getting hit, he is such a high-impact player after the catch. He also made some ridiculous contested catches, he had special teams value as a return specialist, and while he will likely be stuck to the slot in the NFL, he did show some great versatility at the collegiate level. Whether that transfers is going to be a mystery, but he was a fun watch when you look at his tape. He gets a mid-second round grade and could possibly be in the top 30, and that opens the door for 5 wide receivers to be in my top 30 this year. Consensus has 4. That mystery 5th receiver was tied with Burden for grade, but he had a higher score. Welcome to my biggest sleeper and my wide receiver for this draft, TCU's Jack Bech. One of the biggest stories this offseason, it's hard not to fall in love with him as a prospect, especially after you watch the tape. You see, He brings one of the best catch point skill sets in this draft. He has elite hands with a 2.9% drop rate in college and just had one drop in 2024. He also has very good catch in traffic abilities, mainly because of that ball concentration, and good catch radius as well. Route-wise, he has fantastic spatial awareness when facing zone. Athletic-wise, he's very explosive off the line. And overall, he is such a strong and tough receiver. There are reasons as to why he's not this high on consensus boards, which I can see with his deep route capabilities. He does struggle to get vertical separation outside the numbers. On top of that, his route breaks are slow when he has to completely change direction, and he generally just struggles against press coverage. But that's about all I noted on the negative side for Besh. I think he is an extremely underrated wide receiver prospect in this class. He gets a mid-second round grade just like Burden, but his true score ends up being higher. Top 3 time as I talk about the consensus wide receiver 3 in terms of pure receivers. In Ohio State's Emeka Egbuka. Egbuka is an Ohio State legend, and now that he's going to the league, he looks to become an NFL legend. Egbuka played a majority of his snaps in the slot while with the Buckeyes, but he still showed that he is a shifty route runner who gets out of his breaks fast. He is super explosive off the line, his open field creativity is very present, and he overall just has a nice athletic profile. His combo routes are good, his catch radius is solid, and he is alignment versatile. He could definitely play outside in the NFL. But if he does play outside, don't expect him to impact in the deep game outside the numbers. The deep speed is nice, but the route tree isn't. Physically, he's not the best, as he will get knocked off his routes at times and he struggles to consistently break tackles. His release package could also use some more creativity, but that could also be because of his physicality. But Egbuka is one of my favorite wide receiver prospects in this class because he really has potential to play outside at the next level. He gets an early second round grade on this list, just missing out on that blue chip label. And now that I talk about it, we have 2 blue chip wide receivers in this class, with Arizona wideout Tetairoa McMillan being second. He might not be number 1, but he is still a first round wide receiver nonetheless. So how can he not be number 1? Well, I do have some slight concerns. McMillan's route tree desperately needs expansion, especially in the deep game since he doesn't have the speed to separate down the sideline. His separation is inconsistent altogether, but that can also be said about his entire 2024 season. Physically, he will get pushed over on routes at times, but he also pushes off on a lot of routes, making him an OPI target. But he's got so many positives as well. I'll run through them all very quick. He has the NFL size at 6'5", 212. He has an elite catch radius that will be lethal if his ball concentration improves. His route running and change of direction skills are overall greats. His combo routes are filthy. He has great body control in one-on-one situations. His spatial awareness is viable but not special. His frame allows for high contested catch upside, and he is a threat in the open field with those change of direction skills. Whew, that took a little bit, but it's not surprising when you watch McMillan on film. As I said, he is a blue chip prospect, and I do believe he has the potential to be a top 5 receiver in the NFL at some point in his career. Last but not least, my personal wide receiver 1 for the 2025 NFL Draft is none other than Colorado wide receiver Travis Hunter. Boo me all you want. This guy is a legitimate two-way player, and he might be better at wide receiver than he is at corner. And here's why. First off, Hunter is an elite player at catch point. With his phenomenal hands and 2.4% career drop rate, along with his ball concentration overall, he pans out as a F it, he's down there somewhere type receiver. Having a cornerback background, he can sniff out spaces in zone very well, and he's overall a very solid route runner, especially through traffic. He is absolutely an open field threat with his twitchiness. He is a very good off-script playmaker, and the alignment versatility is there since he switched from slot to outside this past season. And there aren't many negatives to discuss if I'm being honest. He's not a massive physical presence as a receiver and will sometimes get held up on routes. He can expand his route tree at the next level, and he's inconsistent as a vertical receiver. But that's about it. Admit it, Hunter is a stud on both sides of the ball, and it will not be a shock if he ends up playing both ways in the NFL. As a receiver, he does get that blue chip grade, and initially I actually had him as an early second round receiver, so this is better than on my detailed scouting report. But with that being said, Travis Hunter is the number 1 wide receiver in the 2025 NFL Draft. Wait, are you not subscribed yet? Well, do it now. I release content like this all the time and would really appreciate your support. I'm Chase Keller from Chase Keller Journalism, and I will see you all next time.